so here are some of the things that you need to do as an international client looking to invest in real estate or business in South Africa. But in this part, we're going to start with real estate. We have different ways in which we support our clients in their investment journeys. So we have different ways in which we assist our clients when they are investing in real estate in South Africa. And what I'm going to be sharing with you here is a comprehensive analysis of some of the things that you need to make sure you have in order before you sign your offer to purchase property in South Africa. Now, ensuring that the offer to purchase property is reviewed and that all the clauses in that offer are well understood. This is very important for you as a buyer who is basically buying property in a legal landscape that's foreign to you. We have property laws in South Africa that will essentially bind you, and it's very important for you to understand what it is exactly that is binding you before putting your signature on that offer to purchase. Now, how we work with our clients is we will analyze the offer to purchase that they bring to us, and we will identify some of the clauses that may potentially be problematic and also difficult to comply with. What is an example of an offer that may be problematic or that may be against your best interest as a property buyer in South Africa? So if you are buying property and the offer to purchase, which we already know is not drafted by your lawyer, so your property lawyer doesn't draft that offer, you want to buy the seller's property and you are buying perhaps through a real estate agency, so the offer that you are signing is not drafted by somebody with your best interest at heart. And that is why you don't just simply sign before you make sure you understand the legal implications of what you are signing. Now, just to get into some of the mistakes that clients make when they're signing offers that they don't understand, is the mistake of signing an offer that has a footstoots clause, where you have the intention of getting the seller to be responsible for the repairs of that property that you are buying. Now, the footstoots clause simply means that you are buying the property as it is, and if there are any defects in the property, you automatically exclude your legal right to go against the seller and get them to pay for those defects, whether hidden or obvious, should they come to your attention. Now, there is a difference between latent, which are hidden defects, and patent, which are obvious defects, and the law deals with those in different ways, but we get into more detail about that when we work with you on your offer to purchase before you sign it. So what do we do to support our clients who are property investors in South Africa? We basically receive the offer to purchase. Once they've identified the property that they're looking for, we will receive the offer to purchase. We will help them to interpret the clauses. If there are clauses such as the footstoots clause, we will explain the legal implications that you are buying this property as it is, meaning you leave no room for going back to the seller and asking them to fix a geyser that's broken, or whatever the case may be, whatever you are unhappy with in the property, you rule out that possibility by signing something you don't understand. And therefore, we are able to propose or make suggestions about alternative clauses, or even striking out certain clauses that may be problematic for you as the buyer. Another clause that's very important to consider as a buyer is a clause that is called that creates a suspensive condition. When you are buying property and you are getting financing in South Africa, you will have what we call a suspensive condition. Now, a suspensive condition gives you the opportunity to apply for financing through one of our 5 major banks, or all of them even, and we actually get to help you with the process of applying, getting pre-approved for financing before you even sign the offer, just so that you can see how much you qualify for. And of course, when you are an international investor, you are able to tap into the financing options that South Africa offers, but also you must understand you are able to get up to 50% financing in South Africa. So it's very important to understand what legal obligations the suspensive condition is going to impose on you as a buyer, how many days you are given to comply to get this bond approval, or to get the home loan, or to even sell your existing property. If you are buying and you have property in South Africa, you are able to also include a clause there that says you will buy the property subject to the sale of your existing property very uncommon to happen, but it's possible to do that. And so we will take you through that agreement and show you what is a problem in there, and make sure that we have alternative ways to deal with those problems, to make sure at the end that when you are signing that contract, it is in your best interest as much as it is in the best interest of the seller. Now, another thing that we do to support our clients is to provide insights on the property transfer process. Now, you can imagine how stressful it is to invest in real estate when you are in a country that is, very far away from South Africa. You can't just easily take a flight, fly in and see the property, take transfer, and do everything that's necessary to facilitate the transaction. So it's important that when you are doing this, you work with a law firm or attorneys that are able to support you irrespective of where you are. Each and everything in a property transaction has legal implications. This is something that can be overwhelming because it can be complicated. It's of course legal regulations and compliance issues can arise, but it doesn't mean that you have to feel that overwhelmed. When you are supported by a team of experts that care and have your best interest at heart, they can deal with all those legalities so you can relax and enjoy the process of getting your investment. We can actually help you with the process and also give you detailed information of what you can expect in your property transfer process once the offer is signed. And of course, that is after all the due diligence is done before you sign that offer. And then we also have legal guidance on the initial tax implications. This is very important. Most people, when buying property, don't think about some of the tax events that get triggered when you are buying real estate in South Africa. And I can give you an example. As an international client or even a local client, when you are buying property, you are automatically triggering certain tax events. There's what we call transfer duty. That is acquisition tax that you pay simply for buying property. And I'm sure other jurisdictions have their types of taxes that you can pay when you're acquiring property. But now we are focusing on South Africa and what you need to know as an investor that wants to invest here. We also have VAT, that is value added tax, that you can pay depending on who your seller is. So if you are buying from a seller that is a VAT vendor, once again, when we are reviewing your contract, we are able to unpack that as we read through the contract to tell you what the situation is, and also to tell you what you can expect when it comes to compliance. So when the seller is a VAT vendor, they are paying VAT, which means you are also paying tax as part of the purchase price. Value added tax is already included. Now you need to understand exactly how that tax affects your purchase price. Also, it is important for you to understand because it goes back to when you are running your numbers in the beginning before you even sign the offer. You want to understand how much you're gonna spend on the entire property and whether or not the property is a good investment, which means you also get into market analysis if you are a diligent investor to understand exactly the value of the property so you can anticipate and project the growth of that said property. So we support our clients by giving them that information that helps them with the tax implications. Another thing you need to understand as an international client looking to invest in South Africa is that we have certain taxes that can affect you at a later date. We have capital gains tax, which can and will affect you when you are selling your property. So once again, the structure in which you buy your property, which I'm going to get into in more detail below, is gonna definitely be important to consider because it can affect how much tax you pay. So if you are buying property in your personal name, you are deriving income from that property, you are most certainly gonna be paying income tax. In addition to that, one day when you sell that property, and of course it will have appreciated, if you are selling it after a certain period of time, property tends to appreciate in value. You will have made a gain from that sale, and therefore capital gains tax will be triggered. So it's very important to understand the structure in which you are buying to make sure that you choose a structure that's going to make sense in future when you are selling that property. And of course, some of the things we do to support our clients is just give them information on things like withholding tax. That's the type of tax that you will pay as a non-resident seller. If our team from immigration doesn't help you with your visa so you can be able to stay in your property legally in South Africa, then it means you will be a non-resident buyer, which is also possible. You can own property living in the state that you are living in outside of South Africa, and you are able to do that and become an investor. If that is the case, then we would obviously need to consider withholding tax, because you would be what we consider a non-resident investor, and withholding tax is applicable to all non-residents when they sell property. And that is just SARS's way, and SARS is the South African Revenue Service. They collect taxes, income tax, property tax, and any other tax. And that is for them to just know that that your tax affairs are in order, you do not owe any money. And most international investors don't actually know that you can get that money paid back into your account if you have been keeping your tax affairs in order. Now, another thing that I want to share on this note is the estimation of the initial transfer expenses. These are very, very important, especially as a buyer. And now we don't let our clients sign an offer to purchase, or rather they are confident to let us, handle everything and give them all the information before they sign the offer to purchase, because the information we give them enables them to make a fully informed decision. And one of this important aspect is the estimation of all the expenses you can expect when buying property, from how much tax you're going to pay, which is determined by how much is the purchase price of your property, to how much transfer fees you're going to pay, and bond registration fees, and levies and rates if you are buying in a sectional title, and the compliance issues that will arise and come with buying in that kind of a scheme. All of those we cover when we are helping international clients buy real estate with tax and estate plan integration. That is very important to understand, and we give a breakdown of all the costs, and you are able to see how much exactly you're gonna pay before you make that decision and put your signature on the agreement. Now, another thing that I want to cover here is basically coming on record. Remember, I initially said that when you are buying property in South Africa, the seller is the one that appoints the lawyers that are going to deal with the transfer of your property from their name into your name. Now, these lawyers are called conveyancing attorneys. I am a conveyancing attorney myself, and I lead a team of conveyancing attorneys in our law firm. What conveyancing attorneys do is they act in accordance with the instruction of the person that has instructed them. So ordinarily, the seller will give the instruction for the conveyancing attorneys to transfer the property from their name to the purchaser's name. What we've seen, and although it's against what should actually happen, which is the conveyancing attorneys or the property lawyers should act in a way that is fair and non-prejudicial against any party, whether it's the seller or the purchaser. The truth of the matter is, because the seller is the one that instructs the property attorney, if anything happens and the parties are in disagreement, the lawyer tends to be on the side of the seller. Now, what needs to happen in the normal course of event is the lawyer who's transferring property has to be unbiased and obviously fair, as I mentioned, and has to help the parties to reach consensus and solve whatever dispute that they could come across. Sometimes the dispute relates, and I will talk from experience, sometimes it relates to when the buyer needs to pay the purchase price. Sometimes the buyer is told that they are in breach, meaning they didn't comply with the terms of the offer to purchase. The buyer, as somebody that's not a property lawyer, is not able to say or see when certain things are going to cause problems in their transaction. And therefore, it's very important for you to have the support of property lawyers that are going to be able to hold your hand throughout the transaction, and you can reach out to us to help you understand how we can better support your transaction. Now, there are more things that I want to cover, but I'm going to cover them in the next segment. So stay tuned for more information on how to buy property in South Africa with tax and estate plan integration.